Good evening and thank you for joining me with tonight's news. Caretaker Treasurer and Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel says the government will make attempts to improve the current tax system used in the country. Mr. Abel said a better solution is to introduce a new taxation method primarily focused on encouraging downstream processing. The Caretaker Treasurer says the current system has loopholes and allows business to easily avoid paying tax.
The Caretaker Treasurer is hoping for a change in the country's tax system. While acknowledging the current FT tax cuts across the country, Minister Abel said there are options the government can make to address the issue.
We've got to look at some short-term measures and some longer-term measures to make sure we have got a competitive and fair tax system, but one that is not too difficult to implement and that enables some people to get away from paying tax in Papua New Guinea, which is not fair on those who are very responsible and pay tax.
In 2016, a report from the Treasury Department highlighted that total revenue tax collected was lower compared to projections by the department. This was fueled by weaker collections from key revenue sources, mainly wages and salary taxes, mining and petroleum tax, and dividends. Minister Abel says eyeing a better workable system will not only improve PNG's tax collection, but lightening the big tax cuts slapped on citizens.
Focusing too much on income tax, which is quite difficult to assess and is subject to transfer pricing and fancy accounting, let's simplify the tax system. If you take raw materials out, perhaps there's a different sort of tax system that is simpler and easier to implement and get what is due to Papua New Guinea. Not only that, it will incentivize people to process raw materials in country rather than export them. You export it, you pay more tax. You process in country, maybe you pay less tax.
The Caretaker Treasurer says adopting a new tax platform will only help. Apart from the tax concerns raised, the Deputy Prime Minister says the public service must be focused to deliver services as the hype of the national elections is over.
Give directions to our public service now that the government is in place. Elections are over. Let's get on with the business of governance and making sure that our people's needs are met in a timely manner.
Abel was appointed as Deputy Prime Minister a day after government was formed. He is one out of the 7 members sworn in as the caretaker ministers. Jacob Pavet Jr., National EMTV News.
Transparency International PNG is calling on the Prime Minister to keep his promise and revoke the appointment of Hagen Open MP William Duma as Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investment. Mr. Duma was one of the 2 ministers, along with several departmental heads, who were sidelined in early March for a controversial land deal worth 46 million kina. Chairman of TIPNG Lawrence Stevens urged the Prime Minister to respect the process and revoke Duma's appointment until the findings of the inquiry are made known. Mr. Stevens says Duma's appointment raises eyebrows as there have been no reports of Commission of Inquiry since the sidelining of Mr. Duma and former Defense Minister Dr. Fabian Pock. Statistics from Magistral Services indicate a drop in the crime rate of Lae City. Chief Magistrate of Papua New Guinea, Nelly Eliakim, highlighted the drop in crime, saying this was largely due to the good work by police and other stakeholders. Police statistics have also shown that the number of lawsuits against the state have also dropped in Lae.
While there's been a general downward trend in serious crimes in Lae City, nobody has really quantified the drop until Papua New Guinea's Chief Magistrate highlighted the figures.
Statistics on the number of criminal cases that's been filed at the district courts. And yes, as I said, I think there's been a reduction since from 2015, between 2015 and 2016, there's been a reduction. And again, the statistics that I've given for January to June, that's only about 2,000, which is still much less. So we're hoping that that will reduce even further.
In 2015, there were 5,675 registered cases. In 2016, a drop by 300 cases. As of July 2017, a little over 2,000 cases have been reported.
It's rare because there will be some locations where you just continue to have, as the years go by, you just continue to have an increase. as opposed to having a reduction. And I think Lay is, as I said, I think it's because of all the interventions by the different stakeholders, key stakeholders here in the province, the support from the government, the national government, and also the provincial administration here.
The drop in crime has also been verified by the Lay Metropolitan Command. Armed robberies between the months of January and July have dropped. The Metropolitan Command says police manpower is being redirected to attend to disturbances and domestic complaints, and there are more police on foot in Lay City. Police effectiveness have also doubled through the reorganization of resources and manpower, with sector response units playing an important role in responding and preventing serious crimes. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lay.
Former Kandep MP and the party leader, Don Polye, has called on the Electoral Commission to fail the 2017 Kandep elections. Mr. Polye said there is no justification of a true winner. The outgoing opposition leader says a supplementary election must be organized by the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Polye's appearance comes a day after rival PNG candidate Alfred Manasseh was declared winner of the Kandep seat. Polye believes Manasseh's win was easily given by not counting his 10 boxes, which he says are not tampered.
But I put the blame squarely on those that conducted themselves illegally, untransparently, and by the actions or inactions has caused the people's frustrations that have now become very volatile. And that is where the Electoral Commissioner needs to come in. The Electoral Commissioner, Patila Zagamatum, needs to come in and solve the problem by calling the Kandep open elected elections a fair election. Therefore, a supplementary elections is needed.
5 people have died and more than 20 suffering from severe injuries and bullet wounds as a result of election-related unrest in Wabek town. Polye has maintained his innocence and says he has made attempts to stop the fights.
The tribal fight up there in Wabek must come to an end. I've already talked to the people up there. It will come to an end, and I'm communicating with them to put an end to this, because I don't sanction that. I didn't cause it. I did not promote that. I will not support it. I am condemning the killings. I'm condemning the destructions of property. I'm condemning the tribal fights that are related to this issue.
Police have moved into the area affected by the fights and aim to maintain peace in the community.
Mobilize ourselves, we went and started, and the roadblocks were also down. So we went back and they started moving the roadblocks and started moving the other guys from Terramada back, especially those that don't police people.
The PNG Electoral Commission has remained steadfast, stating all election grievances must be taken to the Court of Dispute of Returns.
They can take it to the Court of Dispute of Returns.
EMTV is yet to confirm if the writ of Kandep Open declared winner Alfred Manasseh has been returned to the Electoral Commission. Jack Lepave Jr., National EMTV News.
Security forces engaged in the national elections operations in the Highlands have started to return to the base. This afternoon, members of the Port Moresby Dog Unit arrived to a warm welcome by family and friends at the Jacksons Airport. Nearly 2,000 security forces consisting of police, correctional service and PNG Defence Force were engaged in the NATO operations. More are expected to return tomorrow and the week ahead. You're watching National EMTV News. More local stories after the break. Welcome back. The 3 national leaders for the Northern Province have shown a solid front with plans in place to collaborate for the best interest of their province. Northern Governor Gary Jufa praised the newly elected members for Sohe, Henry Amuli, and Ijivitari, Richard Masera, describing them as very credible leaders.
After the Alliance Coalition signed the Alliance Accord yesterday in Port Moresby, the 3 parliamentary leaders of the Northern Province were keen to show their unity. Governor Jufa said an inauguration will be announced soon.
Basically, we, the members of Oro, I'm very proud to say that we've sat and had agreements on how we're going to work together for the best interests of our province. The member for Sohe, the member for Ijivitari, very credible leaders,
very educated people who have all come together for the best interests of our province. At some later date, we will be announcing an inauguration where at the Independence Oval we will be signing an agreement, a joint agreement between all members of Oro to work together for the best interests of our people and our province. And I'm looking forward to those next 5 years.
Governor Jufa said for so long it was a team effort that the Northern Province needed. He assured his people that the leaders will serve their interests at all times.
Top priorities are overhauling our administration and reviewing our health and education, especially. This is from the provincial perspective. I have a 100-day plan, and I've asked my two colleagues to also put together their own 100-day plans. We've got a provincial development plan, 5-year development plan that will be reviewed, but jointly.
The overall plan for the Northern Province will come from a merger of the Sohe and the Ijivitari development plans. Governor Jufa said this will basically be the roadmap for the rebuilding of the province, making it a better place for the children, safer place for investors, and helping small to medium enterprises as well as the general public contribute to the development of the province. Dele Waigeno, National, EMTV News.
In this first 100 days in office, South Bougainville MP Timothy Masio says his first priority is on high-impact projects, which is the airstrip and electricity supply. Masio says to work in close consultation with the autonomous Bougainville government to tailor the delivery of government services. Development plans will be fast-tracked so services can be equally distributed to all districts of South Bougainville, which includes Bana, Buin, Nagovis, Siwai, and Torokina. Public Service Minister of the Autonomous Bougainville Government, Robert Hamal-Sawa, wants to see effective and efficient public service for Bougainville, and it has begun with an audit into the Bougainville public service machinery.
The audit will identify irregularities and officers involved will be dealt with accordingly. There have been reports with the Bougainville administration that some officers are manipulating the payroll system. The ABG Public Service Minister told EMTV News this afternoon from Buka that he doesn't tolerate such action. He also instructed the Personnel Management Department, acting secretary of the Autonomous Bougainville government, to revoke suspected appointment and implement a new open, transparent and merit-based process. And the Chief Secretary to the Autonomous Bougainville government has been requested for urgent support from the National Personnel Management Department to address the recruitment and payroll matters. This includes implementing centralized processes to prevent unauthorized payroll change. Meanwhile, the ABG Personnel Management Department will be implementing a comprehensive reporting arrangement. Minister Sawa says he wants the Bougainville Public Service to set a pace for good governance so that people can feel the government's presence. Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
In news just in, 4 men are dead following fresh clashes in Mendi today. From sources, 3 supporters of a candidate contesting in the Southern Highlands regional seat died after a vehicle was burnt near the Travelers Inn Hotel. Another died after receiving knife wounds just off the perimeters of the town. It is believed the clashes are between sitting candidate William Polye and rival Joe Coble. Meanwhile, counting for the regional seat has been suspended indefinitely. You're watching National EMTV News, stories making headlines overseas when we return. Welcome back. Turning overseas now, new footage has emerged of a passenger plane seconds from disaster. Back in October, the American Airlines plane's engine burst into flames during takeoff in Chicago.
Tonight, new heart-racing images of that terrifying close call.
American engine caught fire.
For the first time, we see that American Airlines flight making its way down the runway for takeoff last October. Suddenly, a burst of smoke and then fire.
Do you see any smoke or fire? Yeah, fire off the right wing.
Inside the plane, complete chaos and panic.
We thought he was going to blow up the plane.
The pilot aborting takeoff. 161 passengers are scrambling to find emergency exits.
Jump and slide.
Passengers evacuating down emergency slides, some thrown to the ground by the engine's thrust. Also, our first glimpse at the emergency response unfolding. Firefighters dousing the plane.
Now we got it. Now we got right there.
Authorities investigating whether this fractured fan disc pierced the fuel line, resulting in that inferno.
Australian police have revealed alarming terror plot to bring down a plane leaving Sydney for the Middle East. They revealed there was not one, but two planned attacks. A working bomb was taken to Sydney Airport long before police knew of any threat.
In the blue and white jersey of his favourite league club, he could be any other Australian sports fan. But today, Khaled Kayat and his son Mahmood faced court accused of Australian terror on a scale the country has never seen before.
This is one of the most sophisticated plots that has ever been attempted on Australian soil.
Police revealed today there were two separate plots, one of which came dangerously close to completion. They say the Kayats turned a meat grinder into a fully functioning bomb, with explosives and parts sent by post from Turkey, under the instruction of Islamic State.
Being inspired and directed directly from ISIL in Syria. And this advice was coming from a senior member of Islamic State.
On July 15th, they brought the bomb to Sydney Airport, where they tried to check in to an Etihad flight. Reportedly, their bag was too heavy at check-in. They gave up and never made it to airport security, but police say the bomb was ready to go.
Then we could very well have had a catastrophic event in this country.
Police allege the men then hatched another plan. They were working to build a chemical weapon to poison passengers on a flight out of Sydney with toxic hydrogen sulfide gas.
Whilst it may have been a hypothetical plot for these people to put forward, we were a long way from having a functional device.
One man is still in custody, another's been released, but police say they're confident the threat is over and they've recovered all components of potential bombs. Even still, it's a wake-up call for Australia, and although Islamic State's a world away in Syria, its influence reaches much closer to home.
While President Trump is heading off on holidays, a staggering number of leaks has come out of the White House. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says the press will be a target as he tries to prevent more embarrassing quotes.
Donald Trump is never happier than when he's out of Washington. This is where he belongs. An adoring crowd in West Virginia, the problems of Russia, collusion, special counsels and grand juries, a long way from these country roads.
Have you seen any Russians in West Virginia or Ohio or Pennsylvania? Are there any Russians here tonight? Any Russians? The Russia story is a total fabrication.
He didn't mention the special counsel by name, but had him in his sights when he said this.
I just hope the final determination is a truly honest one.
A grand jury is made up of members of the public meeting behind closed doors to consider the evidence that's been gathered. They can force people to testify or to hand over evidence. They'll decide whether the material is strong enough to proceed to a criminal trial. But crucially, they don't decide if a potential defendant is innocent or guilty. That's done by a conventional jury. And the other worry for the Trump entourage is that the scope of the inquiry will spread as well. That's a source of fury. Another is the endless damaging and revealing leaks from within the administration. And today the Attorney General announced a new crackdown.
This nation must end this culture of leaks. We will investigate and seek to bring criminals to justice. We will not allow rogue anonymous sources with security clearances to sell out our country.
He's been under tremendous pressure. The president last week humiliating his Attorney General, calling him very weak. This was much more muscular. The President today visited FEMA, the Federal Emergency Centre, to look at plans for dealing with hurricanes. It's hurricane season. And then he was off on his holidays, 2 weeks at one of his golf resorts in New Jersey, and hoping that a storm whipped up by the grand jury doesn't barrel down on him.
The United States has taken a major step towards leaving the Paris Climate Agreement. The Americans have officially told the United Nations they are withdrawing from their process. However, they are leaving the door open to rejoin. President Trump announced he wanted to quit the deal in June, saying it would economically cripple the United States. He also said he was open to renegotiate the deal, which was signed by nearly 200 countries. Severe storms are trashing the United States tonight, causing the cancellation of thousands of flights across the country. 2 young girls struck by lightning in Utah, while 2 others have been killed when trees crushed their vehicles.
Tonight, severe weather bearing down on the Northeast, drenching New Yorkers during the morning commute, turning stairs into waterfalls. Northwest of the city, a waterspout on Lake Erie.
Lightning all around, my hands are shaking.
East of Cleveland, a mother killed when a tree fell on her SUV. And east of Salt Lake City,
sending medical to teenagers that were struck by lightning at Lily Lake.
In all, 3 children hit, 2 in critical condition. Dangerous storms striking across the country in the last 24 hours.
All of a sudden, there was heavy hail and wind, and things started coming out of the trees.
In Baltimore County, Maryland, a 14-year-old girl also lost her life when a tree hit this car. In Chicago, concertgoers forced to evacuate.
I guess the festival has said the weather is too crazy for us to play right now.
Torrential rain causing flash flooding in Los Angeles County.
Look how close they are to those wires and those trees.
Multiple air rescues and some 200 passengers stranded for a time on this commuter train. Monsoon storms in the Phoenix area, snapping trees and power lines. Air travel disrupted too. More than 1,000 flights canceled nationwide just today.
New fitness tracker device could help diabetes better monitor their blood glucose levels. Final testing is underway for a wristband device that will measure blood sugar levels without the need for finger pricking.
Wayne Madron was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 4 years ago. He's supposed to test his blood sugar levels 3 times a day, but doesn't like pricking his fingers.
I am probably not that good at doing that. I get quite slack. I might miss out on 2 or 3 days. The other thing is too, your fingers get very sore.
His she'll be right attitude isn't good for his health.
It was only about 2 weeks ago. I hadn't been monitoring myself at all very well. And then I started back again and I was quite shocked at the level my blood sugars were at.
He's about to take part in a trial which he hopes could help him take better care of himself. Wearable health technology is about to get even smarter. As well as measuring steps and heartbeats, the Hilo wristband is about to add new features, including a blood sugar sensor which uses infrared light.
That's going to be good for anybody with a blood glucose condition, but also people that are leading up to that as well.
The device, which pairs with a smartphone app, will set users back around $270. The idea is that people with diabetes or pre-diabetes can monitor the effects their lifestyle choices are having on their blood sugar.
Self-care is the new healthcare, and this really is about becoming self-reliant.
The makers warn it's not intended to diagnose or treat any diseases, and there's still more testing to be done before it's released later this year. But Wayne Madron hopes it'll help him keep better track of his health in the future.
True Guys Sports is next. I'll have the details after the break.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome to True Kai Sports. Papua New Guinean athletes must be aware of anti-doping. Athletes must also know the risk of facing suspension from taking part in any international tournaments. This is from the PNG High Performance Sports Lifestyle Performance Coordinator Richard Ora, who spoke to EMTV Sports about combating the use of drugs in sports in the region.
Being the Lifestyle Performance Coordinator at the High Performance Sports Center, Richard Ora is serious about creating awareness for combating the use of drugs and doping in the country.
Message to all national federations, especially to get them involved into anti-doping education sessions so that athletes are aware and they don't break any anti-doping rule violations.
Ora was part of a group of educators from around the Pacific who recently attended the Master Educators Training in Fiji.
My aim is to educate, first of all, our elite athletes, which is our members, and athlete support personnel. Those are the team managers, the coaches, have a basic fair understanding of what anti-doping is all about. So once we get that message across to them, they can solidify what we have given to them so that they can push that message to their athletes.
The meeting was organized by Oceania Regional Anti-Doping Organization, ORADO, to inform participants of the processes of anti-doping and effective ways of carrying out awareness, which is what ORA plans to do in Papua New Guinea.
To also educate all our athletes, even the upcoming ones and the young ones. So when they understand what anti-doping is all about, then they don't get sanctioned by the organizations that sanction them for or ban them in their sports.
It's not very common in the Pacific region where an elite athlete gets sanctioned or banned by World Anti-Doping Agency for taking part in international competitions. But staying informed about anti-doping is important for every athlete in Papua New Guinea. The use of drugs or illegal substance in the sporting world has long tainted the spirit of fair play in any sporting event and has seen even the world's top athletes stripped of their medals and banned from competitions. The World Anti-Doping Agency is a foundation initiated by the International Olympic Committee to promote, coordinate and monitor the fight against drugs in sports, and PNG is no exception. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
To football, the National Soccer League Board has set dates for both the National Soccer League semi-final and the grand final. The semi-final match between Medang and Huawei PS will be played on Wednesday, 16th of August, while the grand final match will be held on Saturday, 19th of August.
PNG Football Association officials reported that the semi-final match was initially cancelled when Huawei PS United did not turn up in Medang for the second semi-final playoff due to flight issues. PNGFA Senior Vice President John Wesley Gonjuan, in a statement, said the NSL board had decided that both matches will be played in Leh at PNGFA Academy. However, if the rain continues in Leh and affects the field of play and the preparation, then the finals will be moved to Medang. Gonjuan publicly apologized for the delay of the playoffs and said the reason is because of the continuous downpour that affected the condition of the field in Leh. In addition, Gonjuan said the current election-related issues in PNG has spilled over in Leh and Medang, which has caused uncertainty on the players' safety. Meanwhile, defending champions Leh City Dwellers had booked a spot for the grand final after beating Besta United 2-1 last weekend and are on standby to play the winner of Medang Huawei PS United game. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
Still on football, Fiji and Cook Islands have earned an early edge in Group B after defeating American Samoa 4-1 and Tonga 3-1 on the first day of action at the OFC Under-16 Women's Championship in Tonga. Fiji currently tops the table with 4 golds.
Although American Samoa threw everything into the milestone match, Fiji's impressive ball skills and undeniable fitness allowed them to take control of the game. The American Samoa captain sent in a hard attempt in the second half from a free kick that got them their silver lining. American Samoa coach Ruth Tuatoa was overjoyed with the valiant effort from her team, but believed Fiji's win was well-deserved after their dominant performance.
I'm very proud of how our girls performed today, being that it's been years before we've been able to send out a team to participate in a tournament. So this is the first time in a long time, and we've send out our youngest team, but I'm very proud of how they performed today.
The second match of the game saw a close competition, but after picking up on Tonga's defensive errors and finding the back of the net early in the first half, Cook Islands managed to secure the 3-1 win. Tonga's long fight was finally rewarded in the 87th minute, but by then the margin was too great. Although Tonga coach Lealafa Moala was disappointed with the end result, he was pleased to see an improvement as the match continued and thought his side was unlucky to find the net once.
My team didn't do what I was expecting for. Like we saw in the game, the first half, the lack of communication and all of that. But in the second half, they stick to the game plan. And unlucky, we didn't make the chance to put in the goal.
Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
Chukai Sports continues after the break. The Hunters trash the Jets, World Track and Field and Super Rugby. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. To rugby, the PNG SP Hunters outmuscled the Ipswich Jets 20-4 to win the match at the National Football Stadium this afternoon. Hunters fullback Stargrot Amian scored a double along with forwards David Loko and halfback Aster Boas. Both scored 1 try each. The win sees the Hunters maintaining the top spot in the Intra Super Cup ladder after round 22. To athletics, the attention at the World Track and Field events underway in London is on Somalian-born British athlete Mo Farah.
Mo Farah wants to end his glittering track career in a blaze of glory at the Olympic Stadium. The 34-year-old double world and Olympic champion has simply owned distance running. Unbeaten in the past 5 years. And the only final on the first day, the 10,000 metres, provided him with a chance of a world three-peat. In front of an adoring crowd, he was egging on.
And he's decided, OK, 1 or 2 of you had a go at the start, not enough.
Kenyan-based Kiwi Zane Robertson, battling cramps, could only admire from afar as the Somalian-born Farah wouldn't let anything get to him.
And Farah trips again.
As he got the hosts off to the best possible start in the 25-lapper at his adopted home track.
It's gold again for one of the greatest of all time.
It was his 10th World Championship gold medal, and Sir Mo described it as his greatest ever performance.
I got a little bit emotional at the start, and then I just had to get in the zone, and it's just been, amazing.
Despite a sore left leg, Farah insisted he would be back next week to defend his 5,000-metre crown. His sprint equivalent, Usain Bolt, barely raised his sweat in the 100 metres. As he also launched his final track campaign at a venue he loves.
In lane number 4, Usain Bolt takes a look to his left, turns on the afterburners.
They always show me so much love, and I really appreciate it. And I'm just happy to be here.
Kiwi sprinter Joseph Miller qualified for the preliminary rounds easily enough.
Miller coming back into his running.
But he was then outpaced. And this was all we saw of Eliza McCartney, as the night belonged to running royalty.
Not long to go till the Super Rugby Showdown in Johannesburg, the first ever final staged at Ellis Park. While Crusaders have a poor playoff record offshore, the 7-time champions are confident they can tame the Lions and claim their first title in 9 years.
The captains getting acquainted with the silverware ahead of tomorrow's final. It's one of the most daunting venues in world rugby, but the Crusaders' brains trust seem relaxed enough, with Sam Whitelock working on his tan and coach Scott Robertson looking right at home on the high veld.
Yeah, the weather here is always really nice, but in saying that, it's always good at home too, no matter the weather, so it's always good to be playing at home, but the challenge this week is playing here on the high veld and nice sunny weather.
While the Canterbury men are enjoying the much drier conditions, they are wary of not getting sucked into the high-tempo game that the Hurricanes tried to play last week.
I think you just got to be smart in the way you play and the way you're assessing the game, and that's something that a number of the players have to do.
The Crusaders have already been smart off the field, arriving in South Africa 5 days before the final. A stark contrast to last year, where they turned up 2 days before their playoff, where they were then rocked 42-25.
Different side, but obviously there's a number of us that were involved, and we've got here a lot earlier in the week, which has definitely helped with a number of things.
While it's their 12th final, their last 4 finals on the road have all resulted in defeat, and no team has crossed the Indian Ocean to win the final. With both sides sitting at 16-1 for the season, and the Lions on the verge of perhaps becoming the first South African team since the Bulls to win Super Rugby, history is sure to be made either way.
The world's most expensive footballer has been defending his move to Paris Saint-Germain. But for the club, it looks like money well spent on the Brazilian superstar Neymar.
Neymar, finally in Paris with a ball and the world at his feet. At £200 million, his transfer from Barcelona is a world record deal. And when his wages are included, the total bill will eventually top £400 million. The Brazilian star told me today, though, he's followed his heart and not his wallet.
I didn't come over here for the money. I came here for the motivation of the challenge and the challenges.
On the Champs-Élysées this morning, fans were happy to part with their cash. Hundreds of them queued for hours to buy the new Neymar shirt. The club is backed by the country of Qatar's vast wealth. But its president thinks he's bagged a bargain.
I would love to see, in 1 year, and then I want to ask you, is it too much or not? I'm sure it's not, Today, until now, just in 5 hours, we sold already merchandising like €500,000, and this is just for a couple of hours.
That's a bit of skill from Neymar.
Neymar has been a star for both club and country from a young age. But critics of this mega deal point to the vast sums involved. And there are questions too over whether he's merely a pawn in Qatar's efforts to spread its influence across the globe. The man at the centre of it all, though, insists he's simply here to win.
I want everything. The titles. I came over here to make history.
PSG want Neymar to spark a new sporting revolution for them. And leaving the stadium tonight, he was greeted by fans as their new king.
Then in sports news, after the break, your weather for tonight and tomorrow.
Sky Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And now looking at the weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight. In the southern region, Port Moresby mostly fine, Daru fine, partly cloudy, Kerema cloudy, Alatau mostly fine, and Popondetta fine. In the Mamase region, Lae and Wewak fine, Medang mostly fine, and Vanimo fine and partly cloudy. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, KVN, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka fine. In the Highlands, Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa, Mendi, Tari and Wabeg fine although cloudy. Strong wind warning for small ships for this afternoon and tonight. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daro to Yule Island to Hood Point to all Milne Bay Islands, including Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen through Whittier Strait, Dampier Strait to CSC Islands to Long Island, to Medang to Bogia to West New Britain and South Bougainville. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daro to Kiwai Island, to Yule Island to Hood Point, to Samurai Island, eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, Long Island to Medang, to Bogia to Wewak, to Aitupo to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 2 to 2.5 meters, waters of Kerema, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters, Waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Whittier Strait, Dampier Strait, including CSC Islands, to Long Island, West New Britain and Bougainville, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. And waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1 to 1.5 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas for this afternoon and tonight. Coral seas rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots. Solomon seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck seas rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots. And the Pacific Ocean seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
That's the way it is this Saturday, the 5th of August 2017. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.